I think it's quite a lot of international pressure that has convinced the federal and Tigray governments to send their delegates to these talks. We've had a peace process that was started earlier this year and then broke down in August. And we've had very serious fighting since then. But obviously with that renewed fighting, we've seen the US, the European Union, and the African Union to some extent press the parties to try and renew their truce and start formal talks. And that is where we've got to now, although it must be noted that serious fighting is ongoing in Tigray, with the federal military and their Eritrean allies advancing in the region, and the federal government stating that it wants to take control of all federal facilities in the region. So it might be difficult to achieve a cessation of hostilities agreement.
I was just going to ask, do you think that these talks will go any further than talks?
With the federal government and its military continuing its operations to try and control what it describes as all federal facilities inside Tigray, and it's being assisted by Eritrea's military. That operation is ongoing. There is momentum behind it, and that is something which Tigray's forces are likely to continue to resist. And Tigray's leaders have also said that for any truce to be signed, Eritrea's forces need to withdraw from Tigray. So undoubtedly, this is the biggest obstacle, even getting to the stage where we can stop the fighting, let alone to start addressing the differences that led to this war and have worsened and hardened as the war's been ongoing.
The US is involved. What is their foreign policy objective in this? What's the interest of the US in this war?
On the surface, the interest is in peace, to try and stop the fighting that is killing so many Ethiopians, that is causing suffering in and outside the conflict zones, and contributing to Ethiopia's economic woes, leading to a certain amount of regional destabilization. The US is aligned with many other African and other regional and global actors, trying to encourage the Ethiopian parties to settle their differences around the negotiating table rather than via military means.
And what would you say are the compromises that the two sides need to make in order to make a peace stick?
I think with the way that the talks broke down, the peace process broke down earlier this year, prominent was the issue of a federal blockade on Tigray. So that was heavy continued restrictions on humanitarian services, the denial of federally provided services, telecommunications, banking and electricity, and also an effective block on trade and transport. Now, if the federal government was willing to enter into a cessation of hostilities and then was willing to lift its blockade, that is the sort of action that would be taken as a sincere sign from the Tigray leadership that the federal government was ready to pursue a negotiated settlement. And that could hopefully catalyze more positive actions and concessions from the Tigray side. But until we see a renewed cessation of hostilities, then it's going to be hard to make any steps towards sustainable peace here.